All right, so we are live. We are live with CPG, GPC, GPC Chat, Fick and Shoot, whatever you want to call him. But he is one of our best supporters across all four stations. And welcome, Chris.
Hi, everybody.
It is.
How's it going out there?
I tell you what, it's absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic to have you live on air. I know without these issues here, because I wanted to actually try and catch you before you even had that barbecue around with Sir Kenny on your birthday party, and but thank goodness that didn't work, because I have technical issues right here non-stop trying to figure out how I can patch a cell phone into a broadcasting system that doesn't allow you to do it. So I'm glad that you're on air.
I released my album quite a while ago, so I've been kind of waiting for a few interviews, and for various reasons, we didn't, and we were going to, then we weren't, so I'm here now and happy to be here.
Yeah, Punk Princess says, who the fuck is CPG? Obviously, we're not allowed to swear in this radio stations. You know what we are like.
Yeah, exactly.
But, hey, the Fick and Shoot is live, and, hey, thank you once again for joining us. All right, a couple of questions first. Am I right in saying, is this your fourth full-length album, Visions?
Yes, this is my fourth. I sort of say it feels like my fifth, because one of my albums I actually redid at one point. One of my first ones, I wasn't happy with everything that had happened at that time, so you had the time and wanted to put the effort in, so I redid it. Mm-hmm. So it feels like five, but it's really four.
It was really four. All right there. And I guess that because when you, and I thank you on air now for sending me that album that actually took 3 months to get you. I almost got it basically in time for the release of the new one.
Yeah,
which is great.
You did a year ahead.
Yeah. All right, I was going to ask you about, because I heard with the interview that you had with the Punk Princess, you were saying that you had some ideas on some of the songs of what you wanted to do, and you sort of didn't put a name to it and all that sort of thing. Is this all sort of brand new material, or maybe you had some that didn't quite make Elusive Asylum, or you had the ideas when you released Elusive Asylum? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I tend to hang on to stuff like, herpes or something. I don't like it. It's something good. I keep it for a long time. So I had some verses, maybe a verse idea, or a strong chorus, or something that or you've had a song and it's not 100% in your mind that it's what you want to put on an album for various reasons. It could be anything. It's just not making you give it that extra push to make it to the front of the pack. So Visions of Pain, which is the first song on the new album, I've had that song for a long time, and it just never had a chorus that I really was happy with. So I love the verse music, right?
All right, so that obviously was going to bring me to the next question. What comes first, the song of the lyrics? I mean, how do you get your head around to getting a new album out, or to getting new material out, should I say?
I'd say like 99.999% of the time it's music first for me. And then Paul always laughs at me because he doesn't understand how I can write lyrics to something in my head, and it's like I have the whole song going in my head, and then you sit and you're playing it and you're trying to think how words are going to fit into this and how lyrically it's going to fit into this.
Yeah.
So she heard a lot of songs from me like acoustically, and then I would know what it was going to be like in electric. But yeah, at some point you got to start writing lyrics, and I might write ideas, small little lines, before I've had any music for them. It's just an idea. And when you're looking for lyrics, you go in and you go, oh, geez, what's that mean? Like, what does the list for the pit is long mean? Okay, when did I write that? And then maybe that triggers a set of lyrics that make you write the entire song. that you're currently working on, right?
Yeah.
So I guess there's a small combination of ideas are always coming to you, but when it comes time to write lyrics, I usually have the music already.
Oh, that's good. Now, 10 tracks on the album, and I sort of heard you say probably about 3 months of a solid work in the studio. What would you say is probably more difficult for someone like you to actually have to do every single instrument, or to try and get around the other members of the band, trying to get them all to play the game and focus on the album? Would you find it more difficult with a band as opposed to doing something all by yourself?
Well, I've experienced both. I mean, I played in bands for years and put out albums with bands, and you know, once you've kind of done your part, like if you're the guitar player, you basically become moral support for everyone else in the band, and you're encouraging them on their vocals, on their bass lines, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now I'm on my own support system.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm kicking my own ass, like saying, okay, you're doing bass now. Write the effing bass line, buddy. You got to play this, right? No one else is coming in to do it. So, time-wise, it's way more difficult when you're doing everything by yourself.
Yeah, and I suppose a little kick from Paula as well.
Yeah, I mean, Paula's a great motivator. I mean, that's what she really. He's very encouraging, wanting me to go down to the dungeon and, you know, get it together, buddy. But you know, there's a 50-50. You know, you're kicking your own ass, or you're relying on other people all the time. So that's draining as well, right?
So it was either go and write some music or go and use the freaking snowblower and get the shit out of the garden or the door. So maybe the dungeon was actually the great idea to hang around there.
Yeah, I mean, like,
and
yeah, there's anything to motivate you to get out to doing that. Like when you got 3 feet of snow, and well, geez, I think I need to go to the dungeon today. I don't think that snow is very good there.
How grumpy does Grumpy Bear get in the middle of a recording session?
Well, I've had some moments, I will say that, where yeah, it wasn't a very proud moment, but my last album, I remember specifically threatening to throw everything I owned into the river, because then I was never looking at music again, and it was a waste of time. Why did I do this? And then, you know, the next day you wake up and go, okay, let me go try that again, right? And then something goes right, and then you feel like you're back on track again. So, yeah, I mean, I've had some moments, like, you know, not to say Paula isn't always my main motivation, but, you know, I asked her to come down one. You know, I asked her to come down one time, and doing, why would you be saying that? Get out of my studio, you're banned forever. You know, and then you think back, what the hell am I making the stuff, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, there's never glorious moments. You try to get a lot of good moments that get you to the next good moments and downs in the whole process.
Mm-hmm. All right. I would ask anyone that is on the chat just to make sure that they can hear us both properly. But I hope they are doing. There's a lot of flowers going on here. The Punk Princess is also talking to the goddess. So before I finish off here on this particular segment, I've chosen the first song that I'm going to play, Dia. Just tell me a little bit about that.
So Dia is a acoustic instrumental that I probably drove Paula crazy with over the entire pandemic, playing it.
The entire pandemic,
you know, I searched a long time for a title for it. I said, this does a lot of changes. What can I call this, you know, song? And I said, it just feels like a day in your life, like, you know, but the Beatles already took that name.
Bugger.
So I said, what's Portuguese for day? And it was dia. So I said, well, what's a day? And she said, dia. I said, perfect. There's the name of the song. So.
That's the name of the song.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to play you the song. Stay on the line. Stay on the line. We're going to play the song, and then we'll just carry on with the chat. Don't go away. All right, so that's Dia and the A Day, and that's of course CPG, brand new album. The album called Visions, and he's going to tell you now, right now, how you can get that album. Chris, up to you.
I'd say the easiest way is to go to CPG Rocks on Facebook. You can contact me directly through my Facebook page. And, you know, you can have it in a matter of seconds if you like.
CDs as well as downloads, or how did you present this?
So this one, like, because of the pandemic, there's like a 7-month wait for vinyl to be produced currently in this new album. But I do have CDs and I have downloads. So it's always a challenge figuring out what people want. You make CDs, everybody wants a vinyl. You want vinyl, they want a CD, they want a download. So
just the stuff you're on a bit.
And the download now, right?
All right. Talk to me about the earlier long head.
Yeah, so actually, Gaudett has never really. She's seen pictures, but she's never known me with long hair. But I used to have long hair to my waist, and I'm 6'3", so it's pretty long hair.
Yeah, jeez.
So that was a whole other version of me. I actually saw some cousins when I was home recently to visit. Like, oh, geez, when did you get rid of long hair? It's like, yeah, 20-some years ago, you know.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much my identity, I think, for a long time. People really knew me as, oh, the guy with long hair, and grew up in a small town, and people kind of know you one way, and you haven't been home for a long time. They may have seen me come back home over the years and just never knew it was me because I had cut my hair off, right?
Look, yeah,
that was more like heavy metal CPG. Now I'm kind of a hardcore metal, punky, classical guitar, like a bit kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah, I was actually going to ask you, was it always metal right from day one?
No, I mean, like,
no.
My friend and I, we grew up, you know, listening to punk, listening to early metal, listening to Black Sabbath, you know, AC/DC. We like Debbie Harry, I mean Blondie when it was out, like, you know, there was that kind of thing. So it sort of evolved over the years. You go through different stages, and yeah, your writing sort of becomes, you know, influenced subconsciously over the years. So at one time I thought I was really metal, but now I think I'm more like sort of this hardcore version that seems to be this little niche that I kind of in between some hardcore punky and metal thing, right?
Well, so, I was going to say that when I hear a lot of the music on Whatever68 Radio, and obviously a predominantly punk rock kind of radio station, I mean, I hear some of your songs and I'm thinking, well, you know, that's extremely suitable for what actually happens at Whatever68 Radio. And I think probably that's probably one of the reasons why you get on so well with Lisa. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, Lisa and I have a lot of the past, let's say, about people maybe being a little too judgy and controlling about who gets on air, who doesn't get on air. We've had a lot of discussions about that kind of stuff. And she's just the kind of person that, you know, how do you know what people don't like to hear if you never play it, right? So, I mean, she's really been a big part in, like, getting me to any sort of stage where, hey, I'm talking to Mario in South Africa and having an interview. But, yeah, I mean, there's a hardcore element to my playing that, you know, you find the right people that like the right kind of music. And, I mean, she's in San Diego, California, and, you know, punk is still alive and well and kicking, and, you know, there's some sort of, like, connection there that she appreciates. You know, I'm that kind of person about my music as well, right? So,
yeah. Well, I got to be very thankful to Paula, no, not to Paula. I said to Lisa, because if I hadn't gone into Whatever68 Radio, I wouldn't have heard your stuff. And it's actually through Whatever68 Radio that I've got to know you, and I started playing your stuff, which is great. Absolutely,
yeah, and that's what I'm
fantastic.
Saying. So you never know where your connections are going to be made, you know, in the world. That's what the internet has done for us a lot, right? But I have this, like, crossover, which is really awesome because it has a metal aspect about it, has a rock aspect. I have some classical stuff. There's a funk aspect. So, you know, like DJ Silver will play me, and he does a strictly, basically metal show.
Yeah, geez, I love Silver. Well,
right.
I will tell you what.
Yourself, you play everything, right?
I tell you what, I wouldn't say I love Silver. I just love June and Dolly. But I mean, that's the only way I can get through to them is by listening to Silver. Damn.
Right.
I got to tell you something.
Yeah, so a crossover is always good to have in your music, right?
I got to tell you something that happened to me at lunchtime. I do work with one of the banks, and I was there. At lunchtime, and there was a guy ordering food. They got a canteen and all that sort of thing, and he's got one headphone on and one off. So I said to him, I hope you're listening to some good music. And he looked at me and he's probably thinking, this old man, I mean, I'm sure, he's expecting to say maybe, no, the kind of music that you play, I won't play. So I says, well, he says, if you consider thrash metal and death metal and all that good music, I say, then yes, I'm listening to that. So I said, funny you should say that. He looks at me with a funny face, and I told him about all our radio stations and what we do. And he says, for goodness sake, just send me that damn link so I can listen to some proper music for the change. So I made a new listener, and I'm sure he was thinking that I probably thought, or he thought that I was going to ask him if he's playing like Frank Sinatra or Justin fucking Bieber or something like that, or some shit like that. All right.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean,
yeah. I was going. Oh, the I can't read everything that is being posted by the Punk Princess, but one thing she says is that she loves you because you are full of bullshit, just no crap. No, or something like that. Well, maybe I read it wrong, but the Punk Princess loves you. Well, I tell you what, I'm so happy to be across all of the 4 radio stations, because at least I get to do things that I really like to play. All right, Red for Green. Talk to me about Red for Green.
So Red for Green is, I basically just have to sum it up as blood for money. And I think you can kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, blood for money. Absolutely.
We can do just about anything we want in this world as long as we pay for it. So it's kind of a thought in my mind at certain times that we do that a lot. So that became that song. All
right. Before I play that, were you always a guitarist? Was that your first love?
Yeah, my mom bought me a guitar when I was like 5 years old, but I probably never started playing it until I was about 15.
Jeez.
And the guitar, was like a little tiny miniature acoustic by the time I became 15.
Yeah.
But it got me going, right? And then, then you sell your gaming system to buy a guitar because that's your new passion in life. So once I started getting reactions and people enjoying something that you're doing, you're like, wow, this is amazing. And then you fall in love, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, I've always loved music, but once I started creating it, that was a whole other ball game. I've been that way all my life now.
All right. When I did one of the shows, one of Paula's top 12, and we played one of your songs talking about the guitars, and I think it was the Gibson guitars in particular. You have a wonderful story about how you got one of the Gibson guitars.
Yeah, so my first guitar was like, some second-hand place off the rack. I painted it, whatever. I don't even remember the name. And then I saw an ad in the paper for a Gibson Les Paul. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't even imagine owning something like this, but let me go check it out. And come to find out, it was actually a guitar that had been seized at the border in a seizure from the band Alabama. If anybody knows Alabama, they're an old country band and country rock. I guess maybe a little rock and roll in there. And the guy's name was Jeff Cook, the guitar player. So someone found something in one of something that shouldn't have been there, so they seized everything, and they were sold at a auction, customs auction. And one of the people in my hometown bought this guitar, and I'd actually seen it multiple times. Him playing it, my friend was taking lessons from him. I seen this guitar, never thinking in my life I would ever own this guitar, but at some point was selling the guitar, and I was there, and I owned Jeff Cook's Gibson Les Paul Custom, which is a 1977. For years now.
In monetary terms, good value for some, or what sort of the value or something like that now, especially when someone famous.
I probably bought it for $700, like just without even talking about his name attached to it in any way, it's got to be worth $6,000 plus, right?
So that's a bargain.
So, yeah. So plus, any guitar solo that's electric you've heard on my new album, I played that guitar.
What
that was Jeff Cook Les Paul.
What acoustic do you use in Umdia?
Umdia is a Gibson SJ200 that actually was a wedding present from my wife Paula. And I hadn't recorded it too much.
She always comes around in the best of ways, isn't it?
Yeah, I think maybe she's buying to me so that when I do interviews, I can say, "Oh, Paula bought me that guitar."
Well, hopefully she keeps on selling the jewelry that she does, and she doesn't have to sell one of your guitars, eh?
Yeah, well, I have a badger or some mad badger down there guarding them right now.
All right, okay, let's go. Red for Green from the brand new album Versions, Canadian Metal. Take a listen. right, so we are chatting now to Paula from CPG. She is CPG. She is the integral part of the band. Without her, nothing happens because she's the one with the whip. Is that right, Paula?
That is totally wrong. CPG doesn't have anything to do with Paula or Gaudett.
Yeah.
It's all about my husband, Christopher, and it's the initials for his name, Paul Gaudett. And he is all the talent. I am the cheerleader. He is the one that comes up and composes all the music, all the lyrics, all the arrangements, plays all the instruments, records everything, mixes it, and masters it. My sole contribution, honestly, is being the cheerleader. And, every once in a while, he allows me down into his dungeon to give feedback or to get a listen on something. And sometimes he kicks me out of the room.
I did ask him how grumpy this grumpy bear gets, I suppose. And he does get a bit grumpy.
It's like he said, like sometimes he'll come up and go, okay, I'm not doing any more. I'm finished. One in the river. And, he might have hit like mostly technical difficulties, I would say. Like it's when the technology in the mastering software or the recording software is giving him problems. And he'll say, oh, I forgot to press this button. And I'm like, well, it's okay. You have so many other things on your mind that you have to focus on because, you're the recording person. You're also the performing person. So it's okay. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, and I heard the interview with the Punk Princess, 3 months of hard work in the studio. And, it must have seemed like a very long 3 months for both of you, I would say.
Well, I think, yes, the recording part is 3 months, but you have to realize that he's been working on it for way over a year at least.
Absolutely, yes.
He was sitting in the living room and he would play some music on an acoustic. And he's like, oh, I really like this riff. I'm going to use this riff. I'm like, okay. And that's a nice riff. Okay, whatever. So when I go down to the basement, he's played that riff, but in electric. And I'm like, he goes, oh, you've heard this like a million times. I'm like, I have? Then
Yeah.
he played an acoustic. Oh, I know that.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
but,
I recognize that, yeah.
Yeah, but my mind doesn't work the way his does. I can't, hear the acoustic. And then when he's played it in electric and layered on, the bass line and the other guitars and the vocals, my brain doesn't work to connect that, oh, that was this song in the acoustic. Like, he does that all in his head. I don't have that gift at all. I just hear the end result, and I'm like, oh, that sounds really good.
All right, so now talking about the end results, I heard him being asked, what is your favorite track? And he said, well, they're all his children. So, yeah, he doesn't have a favorite child here and there. However, Paula, what are your favorite tracks? Just name me maybe, let's say, 3 tracks from that album that really sort of gets your G-string going.
Well, the tracks that really, I love all the tracks like he does, but the lyrics are really the current day interpretation of poetry, and I like poetry. Mm-hmm. And so when he read me the lyrics to Endless, I got very emotional because the lyrics are beautiful.
Oh.
So one of my favorite tracks is Endless. Then for his talent and showcasing his talent, I like Visions because it has, what I say is a kick-ass solo.
Yeah, seems like the one that gets the album going kind of thing.
Right, and then if you said, okay, well, what's another, like, emotional one, I think it's Angel. Angel's a beautiful song, and, I think he recorded that unconsciously thinking about the passing of his sister and his mom.
Oh.
So it's a very emotional song. So he didn't do it consciously, but when I asked him about it, he goes, oh, maybe. So I would say those are the 3 ones that I think have the most impact on me personally. Let's put it that way.
Have you, at any sort of time in all the 4 albums that he's done, have you ever sort of said something to him that somehow turned into a song? Has that happened?
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah,
no,
or something that inspired him to say, hey, I'm going to write a song about that. Or something that you did, maybe.
I don't know, like he did write songs for me that are not on any of those albums necessarily. He has one that's like a more mellow album, because when we first met, he wrote a song for me. And then on the day of our wedding, he surprised me with a song. And so those songs that are very personal, you know, they're on their own CD called the Bratty Collection, because we have nicknames for each other, and I'm Bratty.
Oh.
So in that context, yes. But, you know, that creative flow comes from him. It comes from, you know, the place inside you of what's going on in your brain. What are you thinking about? What are you passionate about? You know, what do you want to say? Because music is about self-expression, and like
Absolutely.
Christopher would say that his way of expressing things comes out the most through his music.
Actually, very interesting. Sort of what goes past the brains of a musician and how he gets it going. What is possibly the most I don't know how to put this. What really makes him tick, and all of a sudden he just got an idea for the song? Is there anything that happens in particular, any kind of mood that he might be in, that all of a sudden he says, "That's it. I'm going to the dungeon. I'm going to write music," or something like that? Is it an event or something like that? Anything?
I don't know. I don't think I can pinpoint that as much. I think, like most people who write music, it's a very personal expression of your emotions, right? So it could be, you know, that you're romantic. It could be that you're sad. It could be that you're frustrated and mad. You know, any of those strong emotions that really get to you. Like, you know, Visions of Pain is not a happy-go-lucky song, right?
Absolutely.
Obviously, he's frustrated by what's going on in the world, and you know, that's his way of expressing it. And you know, it's mostly from a place that, you know, he's upset that, you know, this is how the world is going more than anything, right?
All right. So what I'm going to do, just to finish our little chat, is mention about the kind of support that we are getting from all the different radio stations, whether it is a DJ Kate, whether it's the Punk Princess or Angelique, or, you know, Bulldogs, Whatever68. They've really been very good in getting the whole CPG sound out. So that's it's great to have them around.
Oh, absolutely. And Christopher totally appreciates it, and he feels very honored that they, you know, enjoy his music and appreciate him. And he just is very, you know, attached to all the DJs, and he tries to support them back, listening to their shows. And it's also because he enjoys the music that they're playing. And he likes learning and getting exposed to new music, and each one of them has a slightly different take on music. So he enjoys being able to listen, getting exposed to new things, just like everybody.
I lied, you know. I said there was the last thing. It's not, because I forgot to talk to you about Paula's Top 12. Because I want the people out there to make sure they understand about Paula's Top 12, how we all started this, and sort of what makes you tick.
I don't know. I think what makes me, how it came about was, like, it was probably when we were listening to the blues shows on Monday, and even on Friday, the Power Hour. But I think it was like, oh, you know, I'm not a shy person, so I'm like, oh, Mario, do you have this? Oh, Mario, do you have that? And you would play it. And I think, you know, we must have sensed that I enjoy music. I've always been a music lover. And I have very, like, a broad range of music that I like. I don't really support any particular genre only. And so when you asked me would I like to do that, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I can do that. And now I have a total appreciation for what DJs
what need to go through
to put together a show and think of, you know, the songs and why, and you know, but and I try to include songs or bands that might not be everybody's taste, let's say, in the Power Hour, but that are great artists in their own right, and maybe are not musicians that are always heard on all the different stations, right? And I've definitely appreciated getting exposed to some of the bands that you and some of the DJs play. And you know me, I'm a big supporter of women, so I like all the power girl singers. And whether it's In This Moment or Dorothy or Pretty Reckless or Hailstorm, you know, I would never have heard them otherwise. So being exposed to them was really fun for me as well.
You obviously understand the kind of pressure that you put me on when you give me a list on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and I try and figure out, how am I going to do this? How am I going to research this? Where am I going to find the songs? So what can you tell the listeners for Friday? What have we got lined up?
I haven't done this week's Friday show yet.
So you're good.
Because I find for myself that it's much easier to think of a theme. Because if you just said, okay, pick some songs, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many songs. Where do I start?
Absolutely.
Whereas if I say, okay, I'm going to try to pick a theme of something, then I can narrow my focus, right?
Well, just remember that your Thursday is my Friday.
No, I know I'm terrible. I have been late a couple of times, which is what you're, suggesting, which is true. But you got to admit, the last 3 weeks I've been early.
It's been fantastic. And I'm just totally flabbergasted. And anyway, look, it is a great way to keep me on my toes, to obviously find out something about music, especially when you got like Canadian bands. I think that in South Africa, we sort of haven't been totally exposed to a lot of the stuff that I heard from you. Yes, there's obviously a lot of Canadian artists that make it to the world charts, so obviously we do hear them. But there are some stuff that I'm thinking, I never heard this. And when I hear the song, I'm thinking, oh, I like this. So it's been a great help to me as well. So, hey, it works both ways.
Absolutely. It's a symbiotic relationship.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you a little bit emotional, say goodbye, and I need you to run to the other side because you got about 30 seconds to hear a song that you really like. Thank you for joining me, and we'll chat to you some other time. All right.
Thanks for all the support for CPG. Truly appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, and here is Endless.
Oh, thank you so much.
Don't cry beyond the sun.
right, so we're back. Yes, we are back with Chris from CPG, the album Visions, and Canadian metal released 2023. And if you are anywhere near the chat at Whatever68 Radio, the Punk Princess has actually posted the link of where you can get all the albums out there. So just go out there and have a look. Welcome back, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
It's nice to have a nice spokesperson to break things up for me. My wife.
Yeah, I absolutely apologize for taking you away from Claudia and Oliver. I'm sure that is that time of the day when the weather changes.
Yeah, we were supposed to have a really bad weekend, and we were thinking that we were going to be doing a lot of indoor time and listening to music inside, and then the whole weekend was beautiful. And now they're probably going to be leaving in the next couple hours, and it's thunder and lightning storm outside.
All right,
so it's the exact opposite of all the other weekends where it's rainy and then it gets sunny just as they're leaving. So it was a beautiful weekend. Have
you told them your bad jokes, your dad jokes or things like that?
Oh yeah, they know me.
Well, they know you very well.
That's part of the visit. They have to accept all this stuff.
Well, you know what? Baggage all along, no matter where you go, there's something about baggage. All right, so if I mention a song, I know it could actually be any song, but let's say Visions of Pain, which we're going to play next to finish off. How does it come about, the recording of that? What instruments do you use first? How do you get your head around to recording a song that you've now figured out? Okay, I'm going to put this on the album. This is a great track. I'm going to do this. How does CPG go about this?
So this was something that I sort of touched on earlier. I had a lot of the song in my head, but it didn't have a chorus that was up to par, let's say, in my mind. Like, it just never had that wow factor for me. So I never really made anything. I just pass it over. And then one day I wrote a riff, and I was like, man, that is really something that's dramatically different than how my brain was working. So once I had that, I said, okay, this sounds like it can make this album. But again, I never had lyrics for that chorus part. And I was just in the studio, and I said, okay, I wrote some lyrics. What's it going to be? And I just started letting it go and see what happens. And that chorus that starts with "the list for the pit is long" came out of me, and I still listen to it and think, who the hell is that guy singing that part? That doesn't sound like CPG. Who's this other guy, guest singer? So, yeah, I mean, it really, once I did that, I sort of went from there, right?
All right, so what comes first? What instrument? How do you go about laying the tracks and recording them? Because obviously you do all your instruments, so you don't have Whitney to help you. So
no, you got to, like, I always start metering the whole song. Like, I know beats per minute, what it is from start to end. And then once you have that, then you layer your drums in, with either use a scratch track, say of the rhythm guitar or whatever, be able to lay the drums, get the whole entire drum track down. And then once the drums are down, then it's just a matter of layering other instruments on top of it. So, I mean, I have sort of a thing where if you listen to my left channel, that's black Les Paul Custom that I have. If you listen to the right channel, it's a 1972 Les Paul Custom for rhythms. And then bass, I have like just standard bass guitar, inserted. But yeah, like, you got to go through each level like you're that guitar player. I mean, you have to treat it that way. Am I doing anything different than the other channel? Am I playing exactly the same thing? Then the bass guitar is the same thing. Like, most times I've written a song, I've never thought about what the bass line is going to be until I've written the song, I have it down, then I go, okay, I have to write a bass line for this. And I think I actually spent a lot more time on this album worrying about how my bass lines and sounds were, so had a few compliments on the bass already, which is always off-putting to me because I'm expecting guitar compliments.
Yeah,
or something else.
When they say, "Who's that genius that played bass on your album?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, you got a good bass player. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And so then vocals are last, and backing vocals, all that stuff. It has to be layered in, just like it's another member of the band coming in. Only it's me, right?
Yeah.
And actually, on this album, I waited right till the end before I did any guitar solos. So all the guitar solos are written and performed over a week's time for the whole album.
Wow. So really, the way I read it, the drums is really the critical part of recording the song, because that's what gives you obviously the beats, correct? So is that why?
So many, it's just like a house. I mean, you start with the foundation, and if the foundation is crap, by the time you get to the roof, you're not inspired right when the house falls down. So, I mean, everything runs off that. Your bass line is half the drums, half the guitar, right?
Uh-huh.
And your vocals, guitar solos, even they can emphasize and inspire parts of your guitar solo. If you have certain beats and drum rolls, all that kind of stuff, it all plays off the foundation. So, drums are a big part.
All right. So what's next in line for CPG? What what time frame are you probably giving yourself before you said, you know what, before I go down to the dungeon and start this process all over again?
Oh, well, that'll be writing, definitely. Like when I feel I got enough material that's at a certain point, I would say, to be able to go down there. I have a whole acoustic album that I've been putting off for a long time, and I every time I go to start doing it, a metal album comes out of me, so I have to start recording that. So this time I think I'm really going to try to at least get 10 songs down or so for an acoustic album. And
all right.
then before that gets performed, who knows, the metal album might come out again. Next metal album might come out.
All right. So how did you get your head around for BMR? How is that? Because that's obviously different to what you used to. How did you?
Well, I think but maybe not everyone else does. It's this guy Mario.
That idiot
kept saying every time when I'm listening to 2 hours of blues, he's like, "You should do a blues song.
Yeah,
you should do a blues song." And
you think,
I was in the dungeon, and I thought of maybe I should, right? So.
But how do you get around to even start? How did you start that? Okay, so I bugged you and I said to you, I want a blues song, and you decided, okay, you're gonna start. How do you start? Where does your train of thought sort of get going to write something totally different? Well, I know it's an instrumental, so you didn't have to worry about the lyrics.
Right. But every guitar player or bass player, knows the blues to, whether they're calling it the blues or not, that's what it's coming from.
Yeah.
So, I've grown up, 12-bar blues, playing blues all my life to some degree.
Uh-huh.
So you have little, riffs that you play and things, if you want to get together with some guys jamming, let's play some of this, and you just start playing something and jamming along. So, it's always there, whether you're playing a punk song, a metal song, whatever. It's blues-based, right? So it was, riffs that I had played or an idea that I had, and I expanded on it. And once I kind of thought of the riff, I literally did the guitar solos in that song in 2 takes. Mm-hmm. So I just recorded everything, and it's like, okay, I think there's a good guitar solo here. Okay, let me just improvise something over top. And I did. And then I said, okay, let me try it again. And I did, and then I liked that one. Right?
All right, so we got about 4 minutes, and I hand over to Spike Polite on Whatever68 Radio, and he's been following the interview as well. And I did ask Paula about the support structure as well from the different radio stations, and I know that you said to me that you actually want to say thanks to all the people involved.
Yeah, like we mentioned Lisa. I mean, Lisa is awesome. Whatever68 Radio. She's sort of what got me into any position where I am now. I mean, I love her. I mean, I love what she does. I love the support she has her bands. Bulldogs Radio, Angelique. I feel like I've known her like a million years, and
Yeah,
we've
absolutely.
never met. But Ryan, all the DJs on Bulldogs are all cool people. You, Mario, of course. Triple Trouble. DJ Kate, she's an owner, and he plays me once in a while, which I love. And she's a great supporter of music in general, and great person. So, yeah, it's amazing to be able to meet people from all over the world and have a mutual love for music. I mean, that's what it's all about, in my mind, right?
Yeah,
This is what brings you together.
Absolutely. The kind of network that we build on internet radio is absolutely fantastic. I always sort of mention that if you're in a normal FM station, you just have the radio playing in the background, and when you ask someone what did the DJ play, you have no idea. So when we are looking at internet radio, is people dedicated to listen to the show and to listen to whoever the presenter is and pay attention to what's being played, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, like, some of these DJs, like yourself, are on multiple stations, and it's just like, they do, it's amazing that, they would take a chance on little old me and play my song, you know what I mean, sometimes. So, Rich Embry, DJ Silver, they're all like, have good fun, like just, hanging out in the chat room. And, it isn't even about like that they're just playing my music, but I mean, they play excellent music, you play excellent music. And, it's all about that love for that and that passion, Not everybody plays an instrument, but everybody can love music, right?
Yeah, don't get me too emotional. I might ask you to do another blues song. As long as I just bear in mind that if I ever ask you to write me a country kind of song, say no. All right.
You've had too many Scots.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Chris, it's fantastic to have you on air. It's always an absolute pleasure to play your music. And, hey, we look forward to having a lot more tracks in the future. And thank you once again for joining us.
Thanks, Mara. I appreciate it. It was awesome.
All right, my friend. Do take care, and we'll chat soon. Okay. Visions of Pain next from all of us here. Hey, goodbye at Whatever68 Radio, and then we'll carry on the other stations.